What is going on, the Catch fam? My name is John Dawson, and in today's video, we're discussing 3 boomer bust wide receivers that I believe you should be targeting in your 2022 fantasy football drafts. These are players who either have some injury issues on a consistent basis or just present a ton of upside on a weekly basis, but also on a consistent basis have those games where they do not necessarily perform for your fantasy roster. So we'll be discussing 3 boomer bust wide receivers that I believe you should be targeting in your 2022 drafts. If you do enjoy today's content, make sure to hit that like button down below, and of course hit that subscribe button. Come join the Catch family on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So we won't necessarily be discussing Tyreek Hill or AJ Brown in today's video. I do think that they make the top of this list, and it's really a no-brainer, right? You're going to see Tyreek Hill probably drafted in the mid to the end of the second round, then you'll probably see AJ Brown go at the end of the second round to the beginning of the third round. And listen, Tyreek Hill is probably the definition of a boom or bust wide receiver, and he just gives you that uncapped upside on a consistent basis. I still love Tyreek Hill, even with the change of scenery with the Miami Dolphins. I do think he's going to have a productive season, none the less than I love AJ Brown's change of scenery. Being traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, I think he's still going to have a phenomenal season. His draft value really doesn't change for me going from the Titans to the Eagles, and I really do like the outlook for the Eagles overall. But I think those are your 2 top receivers in the boomer bust category. We're going to talk about 3 different receivers outside of Tyreek Hill and AJ Brown today. All right, number 1 on the list, I've got T. Higgins, who's currently coming in at an ADP of 37.9 through the Sleeper app. So you can essentially get him in most mock drafts at the moment anywhere between the end of the mid-third round to the mid-4th round. I think he holds tremendous value overall as a wide receiver, but I also really like him in terms of a boom or bust player, someone to present some nice upside as a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, maybe to your fantasy roster overall. 110 targets last season, 74 receptions, just over 1,000 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns. And if you look at just weeks 11 through 17 overall, you see a lot of that boomer bust, right? 3 points week 11, followed by 23 points, 28 points, 16 points, a really nice stretch there, followed up by 4 points, then 43 points in that crazy game in week 16 for the Cincinnati Bengals against the Baltimore Ravens, and then just 9 points to finish out the season in week 17. So obviously, he holds a lot of that boomer bust potential, a lot of nice upside, and I think that this Bengals offense is going to be on fire next season. You ramp up that offensive line, all those receivers come back, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, you add Hayden Hurst as a tight end 1 option. You guys have kept up with the channel in the offseason. You guys know that I love the Cincinnati Bengals moving into 2022, and I will put T. Higgins as my number 1 boomer bust upside receiver to target for your 2022 fantasy football rosters. All right, you got my guy Mike Williams coming up as the number 2 option on today's list. I think that Mike Williams, you could argue, was the definition of a boomer bust receiver all offseason long. Just look at those first 6 weeks. He looked like the absolute steal of 2021 fantasy football drafts. 22 points his first 2 weeks of the season, followed by a 33-point performance in week 3, then a 1-point performance. What a devastating night that was for so many of you guys in week 4, then 28 points in week 5, 2 points in week 6. So that's a very good representation. Even looking from weeks 8 through week 10, 5 points or less in all of those matchups. Overall, I love Mike Williams. I think he is a great upside selection. I don't mind him whatsoever as a wide receiver 2 for your 2022 fantasy football rosters. I think he's even better as a wide receiver 3. But overall, similar to T. Higgins, I just believe that the Chargers are going to be a phenomenal offense in 2022. Justin Herbert is going to lead the home, and that offense is going to be booming. So overall, I like Mike Williams as a boomer bust option. Obviously, you're going to have some weeks where he's not going to perform very well for you, but that upside is essentially uncapped, and being able to use him as a flex option on a consistent basis is really going to benefit your fantasy football rosters in 2022. All right, last on my list is my guy Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I've had a lot of love for here in the current offseason. I get it. This is a crowded offense overall at the receiver position, especially after the NFL draft. And on top of that, it's not nearly as an exciting offense as the Bengals or Chargers, with Jared Goff leading the helm at the QB position. But overall, when you really look at this roster from an offensive perspective, it's not that bad. You got DeAndre Swift at the QB position. You've got some nice depth behind DeAndre Swift, DJ Chark, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds. They go out and they draft Jameson Williams as well, who presents a lot of upside, maybe boomer bust potential himself. And you've got some nice receivers behind all those guys as well, and Cephas and Raymond, who had moments last season. And you got Hawkins at the tight end position. It's a very crowded offense. I think that's a big reason why he presents that boomer bust potential. But really, when you look at what he was able to do, especially at the end of the season, he was not necessarily boomer bust, but offered a lot of consistency. If you look at the season as a whole, it was definitely a boomer bust ride throughout the season, especially when you look at the first half of the season. Only 2 games with double-digit fantasy performances. Then throughout the second half of the season, things got much better, but I still consider him personally, with his play style, a boomer bust type receiver. And with how much more crowded this offense has gotten, especially at the receiver position, especially with Hawkinson as the tight end 1 option as well, I do consider St. Brown a boomer bust receiver. What I do think is benefiting fantasy managers at the moment is that St. Brown has taken a drop in ADP overall with how crowded that offense is. And I think he is an easy snag as a wide receiver 3 for your 2022 fantasy football rosters. Looking at current ADP overall, he's going at 69.1 through the sleeper app. That means you can draft him on average between the 6th and 7th round, so you can easily secure him as a wide receiver 3, and I love him at that value. I love him as a wide receiver 3 moving into the 2022 fantasy football season. And that'll do it for today's video. If you did enjoy today's content, make sure to hit that like button down below. And of course, consider hitting that subscribe button down below. Come join the Catch Fam on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And of course, drop any comments, questions, concerns down below pertaining to the 2022 fantasy football season. With that, I say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on The Catch.